To a lovely Sunday. Please stand and join us in the opening song, Spirit is Joy.
Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Let your light shine through. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Let your light shine through. Dance and sing, yes, laugh and shout. Creation gives you the cue. You say that your God is love. Well, it's time to live like it's true. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Let your light shine through. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy. Let your light shine through.
A beautiful fall morning to all of you. What? Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Birdie Freitag, and I'm going to be your platform leader today. Just a real quick question. What do ghosts eat? Spaghetti. Oh, ouch. Why are they terrible liars?
You can see right through them.
That's right. That's right. Warm it up. So thank you to the Unity Minneapolis Quartet for providing our music this morning. We appreciate you and welcome you back. Our prayer chaplain this morning is Jeff Scheffler. If you'd like confidential one-on-one prayer support after the service today, you can meet up with him by the piano over here. He'd be honored to pray with you. And we have a special treat today because guest speaker Reverend Richard Kiefer has returned. Richard, please stand up and So Reverend Richard served as minister of Unity Spiritual Center of the Black Hills from 2010 to 2015. And during Unity of the Valley's transitional period between ministers, we were fortunate to have him as a guest speaker a number of times. Today, he is back to bless us with a message titled, A Billionaires' Soulful Words of Wisdom. He will clue us in on what someone fabulously successful in the world's eyes can teach us about the deeper heartfelt meanings of the earthly journey. So stay tuned for that. And we now would like to welcome anyone who's here for the first time today, or anyone who's been back after a while. If you didn't receive a welcome packet at the welcome table by the front door when you came in, please be sure to pick one up before you leave. You'll learn more about Unity of the Valley and the universal spiritual principles that Unity can help you live your best life. We'd like to welcome you now with this very special blessing. We
offer you peace, love, and friendship. We bless you, and we're glad you're here.
And you now have the opportunity to greet those around you. So let's stand up and mingle a little bit. See if you can't meet somebody you don't know.
Morning, sir. We've been here since 2000. No, we've been gone. I haven't seen you before. We've been gone the last 2 weeks. And all 5 miles to Arizona. Oh yeah, Arizona, New Mexico. Yeah, we're tired. Yes, it was. Hello, Chris. Everything here.
How are you doing? It's good to see you too. How are you?
Hi, Chris. How's it going? Good. How are you?
Bro hug.
We now move down to Spirit with the reading of the daily word. The word today, October 27th, 2019, is illumination. As I look within, the light of understanding dawns in me. As I look to the east on the clear morning, I see the sky begins to grow lighter about an hour before sunrise. The changes in colors are nearly imperceptible at first. Birds begin their morning songs as the sky grows brighter. Then, as the golden rays of sun proclaims the rising sun, I hear these words from the creation story of Genesis. Let there be light, and there is light. Illumination, the light of spiritual understanding, dawns within my own consciousness in much the same way. The darkness of ignorance begins to lighten. Insights emerge, dimly at first, then more vividly. Finally, understandings pours forth through the radiant morning sun, and there's light. From the Genesis 1:3, then God said, let there be light, and there was light. So the words for today is illumination.
Let's bring our attention to the prayer box. Could someone grab the prayer box? I just noticed that. And let's just sit in silence. That beautiful silence for a second. Thank you, Mary. And as we bring our attention to the prayer box, I invite you to silently add the names of anyone in your heart or on your mind who may need prayer support. We know that the truth behind all appearance of disharmony is the divine and perfect presence of God. we call forth within all people the wisdom and strength, the love and peace, the wholeness and vitality of this presence. We affirm that the requests in our prayer box are being resolved in divine timing for the highest good of all concerned. We send love and light not only to these people and circumstances, but to our community, our country, and our world. May the peace of God enfold us. May the love of God uphold us. May the wisdom of Spirit inspire us. And so it is. Amen. And together, let's declare today's affirmation. Turning
again and again to the Spirit within, I discover wisdom and guidance all around me.
And our affirmation for our spiritual center.
We give thanks that Unity of the Valley is a prosperous, thriving, inspired community. We are growing spiritually and manifesting our dreams and goals in an energy of love, peace, and joy.
Surely the presence of the all that is, of the highest and the sweetest vibration, illumination, that river, a river that flows from deeply within us. For the next few moments, let's allow ourselves to relax even more into that presence, into that quietude. Into the place of deep relaxation, where anything and everything that may be showing up in our lives as a challenge or a perceived obstacle or a healing need, that each and every one by one, two by two, we release and let go. I let go and I let God. Into thy hands is that respite. These moments, here and now, allowing the restoration, the balance, and the harmony let us know that as we, in a more complete way, simply allow, let it be. Let go and let God. Sweet Spirit, we do give thanks for the interlude that brings about each and everything in the form of blessings, some seen, many yet to be experienced, and that the pathway to all fulfillment in every level of our lives has just been sprinkled with love dust by the presence and the power of the Most High. For these things and for so much more, we are grateful. Amen. And please allow ourselves to drift gently, our attention back gradually, softly to the room as our musicians share some more music.
Silent, quiet, Spirit. When I find other voices cloud my mind, filling me with such confusion, then I pray, and the voices fade away, freeing me from all illusion. This is the way, every day, silent, quiet, Spirit. So I will pray every day, silent, quiet, Spirit. Earth's cool ground holds my feet, but I'm not bound. There's a deeper voice that guides me. Here I'll stay, where the truth will clear my way. Freedom comes from deep inside me. This is the way, every day,
My heavens, what a set of messages inside that song. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Several years ago, maybe 5 or 6 back, along about the time the iPhone 6 came out. No, I think we're at iPhone 11, aren't we? Isn't that what's being advertised nowadays? But those years back, when the 6 just was launched by Apple, I found that I was watching an interview program where one of the featured persons was at that time and recently, up until recently, Johnny Ive had worked inside Apple up until the iPhone 6 for about 20 years. And then with Steve Jobs in the succession after Steve Jobs made his transition from this planet to the next, for Tim Cook. And Johnny Ive stayed all that time. And I think I heard in the last couple, 3 months that Johnny Ive just went into private business, but having a major contract with Apple to continue to design their products, at least the chief designer. But in the interview is where I want to begin to unfold some of the pearls of wisdom that are promised for today. From, and by way of an enterprise that first and foremost was grounded, Apple enterprise, grounded, rooted really in consciousness. And a consciousness that had in the lead of their goals and mission statements, and Johnny Ive repeated this in the interview process over the course of about an hour, that service to humanity, to our prospective customers and clients, and that because of the way in which we serve them, their lives will have increased quality. They will experience more, on whatever way they can perceive it consciously or not, fulfillment and enjoyment. Plus, by way of our service, we're committed to producing the best, highest, most technologically advanced piece of equipment or pieces of equipment that we can. Now notice so far, the word money hasn't come up, has it? No. It's we're here to serve. We're here to be a part of a team, Johnny Ive said, that has the privilege of contributing to humanity. And he really did say that. Now, something that struck me 5 or 6 years ago with the interview, so much so, that I had thought several times of these statements that Johnny Ive was making. And looking in my own life, as we're all invited to do, well, through the filter of how can I use this? What is it about what's being offered here and the premises that this company is rooted in and their behavior, their philosophy, that I can borrow from? And maybe in some way or another enhance not only my personal journey, but make me contribute in ways that would have me be more effective in my family life and in my profession. So when I ask us all to do that as we're together today is, as we hear such and such from Johnny Ive and in a few minutes from quotes from Steve Jobs, of what way and in a fashion to bring into my own life and aliveness, my own behavior, my own thought processes and consciousness might be of benefit. So back to Johnny Ive. That he made a pretty bold statement, and he didn't dwell on it. He just kind of got it out in the airwaves with the interviewer. But I was so moved by what he shared, and I'm about to quote, that I had to pause the action and go back to it and hear it a couple more times. And by way of Steve Jobs' insistence, Jobs, first the artist and then the engineer, the insistence that which gets created, whether it was the iPhone 6, and that was what was being demonstrated at the time. Johnny Ive was holding one of those. And he said to the interviewer, he said, for instance, he said, very few people, just the technicians really, are ever going to get inside one of these things, beyond the battery maybe, which I guess you can't replace anyway, but neither here nor there. But to get a peek on how it's assembled when it starts to come apart. Now, the Johnny Ive statement in regard to excellence, quality, function, and I so was impressed by the words. I wrote them down right here in my scribbles at the top of the page, and I want to get his quote exactly. This is where, on the inside of the instrument of the phone, we wed. Our goal is to wed simplicity and grace with beauty and functionality. On the inside of the phone. Now, of course, on the outside of the phone, that tactily, which we touch and then begin to engage with and use in a way that's in our service as a little portable computer or phone or whatever we want to do with it. But the underline here for me from that statement is that it matters so much energetically, not what just they do at Apple, but what we do in the background. In the places and in the moments, either inside our own thought stream and in our opportunity sets as we're thinking and visualizing and in a realm that's mostly within our own being, and also operationally out here, that not necessarily we're not within view of anybody. We're not yet in conversation with another person. We're not yet at work or doing our profession. But it's in the background, what it is we have a hand in creating, that we set a stage for. And when we do so, by way of a process that we ourselves renew or raise the ante on, is how I'm being, what it is I'm visualizing, the intentions that I'm forming for myself, let's just say today, are they in alignment? Do I buy into the premise that it matters, that we each do the best that we can, bring the highest vibration perhaps, the sweetest energy, to have grace and simplicity join beauty and functionality inside and throughout whatever it is we do? To me, that's pretty exciting. That's aspirational. Now, by the way, a quick disclaimer is this is not a promo for Apple products. I promise you. Even though I'm the car, I've got one. But other manufacturers and those who make makes and models of various kinds of phones or computers, they do well, or at least aspire to do well. In this instance, who today kind of gets the spotlight here in our service by way of my message is Johnny Ive, and now we're going to progress to Steve Jobs. And many of us would be familiar with some of the history and the involvement and the challenges that Apple had in the early years of Mr. Jobs' involvement, and then I think politically by way of the board of directors and other influences a number of years passed and he was removed. Well, during the time he was removed, he went off and did what? Created a couple of really successful companies, Pixar being one of them. And Apple was, as a company and corporation in his absence, wasn't doing all that well, was faltering financially and otherwise. long story short, he was brought back. Chronologically, I haven't looked up this timing. If you're interested, it's easy to find via the web. And after and upon Mr. Jobs' re-entry into Apple, in the years remaining in his lifetime of his stewardship as CEO, together with Johnny Ive and all of the key employees. In fact, Steve Jobs said one of the pearls of wisdom is, he said, the people that we want to hire and the people that are already here, they need to understand and subscribe to, we're here just and simply and only, first and foremost, to create the end result is excellence. Back to beauty, simplicity, and functionality. Back to service, he reiterated that in his regrounding of the company back when. And then only later on, he said, oh, and we'll make money. We'll be profitable. We'll take care of and watch the bottom line. But it's not the bottom line that we're putting out in front. Our purpose isn't to get rich here. It's to serve. It's to love what we do. It's to have that where our footprints make an impression in the places where we walk, in that which we create, that we want loveliness to be left behind. That which is nurturing and enables others to feel better in their lives. And he has to have a good phone connection, too. And in that mix, somewhere, and of course working hard, and doing the due diligence in the business world that one needs to manage and take care of, and mechanics and logistics, to become, and I think as of still today, somebody check this out or correct me if I'm not quite up to snuff here in even the last month or so, the most prosperous company in the world. I don't think they're second to any. And their core value or values has not changed. It's still what we've been talking about here today. Now, in the remaining moments of this time together, my time here, on this magic 3x5 card, I have in miniature print, and I'm glad the lighting is good enough for me to be able to read what I put here. I've excerpted from an article that a businessman colleague of mine forwarded by way of email to me just a couple of weeks ago. And I was so impressed with this article that I have my little excerpt here to share some 4 or 5 or 6 pearls with you. And then I copied the entire article for you. And it's on the table as you exit from the sanctuary to the left. It's the stack of papers furthest from us, right at the end of the table. Now, I paid attention to what Johnny Ive was saying. So, your copy is not printed on ordinary paper. It's printed on high quality, high-end linen paper. Now, I only say that with no horn to toot on my part. Rather, just to underline in a different way. When I pick up the linen paper, I don't necessarily consciously am realizing, maybe because I had the printer use it, I know it. But in another instance, if I were you, and I hadn't said what I just said, and picked that thing, there's something different about it, isn't there? It's a little heavier, it's got a texture that's got a richness in it, that feels good. And that's before you even see what's printed there. I guess I could sell paper and iPhones if I wanted to. So far, set up shop back there. All right, now, this article that you're welcome to a copy of features toward the end of Mr. Jobs' life, when the pancreatic cancer overtook him. And in his final days, it's some of the things that he was sharing. I had not heard during those years. until I had read this article. Some of these pearls may be new to you too. So, 5 undeniable facts Mr. Jobs calls the following. Number 1, do not educate your children to be rich. Educate them to be happy, so that when they grow up, they'll know the value of things, not the price. Number 2, eat your food as medicine. Otherwise, you will need to eat your medicine as food. Thirdly, whoever loves you will never really leave you, even if he has 100 reasons to give up. That person in your life that you love back, I insert my words, not his, will always find one reason to hold on in Mr. Jobs' experience. We have 2 left of the undeniable facts. Number 4, there's a big difference between being human and human being. Do you like that one? Okay. Number 5, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. That's not a new one. I don't think Mr. Jobs invented that one. It was one of his favorites. One of the things he wanted to share with those closest to him as he was nearing taking his last breaths. Now, I turn the little notepad over here, in the article out there and right here. In closing, the 6 best doctors in the world. And I didn't leave enough time to elaborate on these, each and every one, but we don't need to, because we know. Number 1, sunlight. The Greeks called it heliotherapy. Get out in it. Whether the clouds are obscuring the view or not, the rays and the energy and the life-giving forces coming through the place called my favorite star, our sun, is life-giving, important, not just for vitamin D. Next, rest. A proper amount of rest. Just a quick one, quick statistic. I heard here in just, the last 10 days maybe, that most of us, adults, aren't getting enough of it. We're just not. And, and I know it varies from individual to individual. Some say, oh, I get by on 6. Others say, oh, I just need 4. Over here, 8, the old standard from way back when, best. But the rest that is restorative, that allows us to go into a place of REM, rapid eye movement, rich dreams. If we're not getting ourselves there, change something, Mr. Jobs says. Exercise. We don't need to really talk a lot about that, except I'm going to go out and do some this afternoon after getting re-inspired. And of course, diet. What's the saying? We are what we eat, and we're not what we don't eat. I haven't thought of that one until just now. So, Carol, tonight that's only 2 pieces of pizza for me. Self-confidence. That's number 5. The best doctor. It's in Unity, of course, teaches this and inspires and invites us to live in a way and to get exposed frequently with regularity to messages and affirmations and nuggets that are uplifting, that tell the truth about who and what we are, beings who are operating in the human world. Mr. Jobs says that a little earlier too. Lastly, number 6 of the best doctors in the world, friends. Elsewhere, Steve Jobs talks about family. In closing, he says it so well as he neared the end of his earth journey that I'm going to not paraphrase. We're going to bring it home with this. These stages, keep them all as part of your life and enjoy health and wellness as long as you can. And whichever stage in life you're in right now, with time, we will all face the day when the curtain comes down. In other words, today's the day that the Lord has made. My words. Treasure love of your family, love for your spouse, love for your friends. Treat yourself well, cherish others. And the last one he has here. Love the people God sent you, because one day he'll need them back. With that, I say thank you and amen.